There are 7 continents on our planet. A continent is a large section of land that is separated from other areas of land. Most of the time, they are separated by water. The 7 continents are North America, South America, Africa, Europe, Asia, Australia, and Antarctica. The country we are studying today is Guatemala, and it is found on the North American continent. Guatemala is a small country just south of Mexico and touches both the Pacific Ocean and the Caribbean Sea. The capital of Guatemala is called Guatemala City. Guatemala is a place of striking beauty and a deep-seated history. Because of its proximity or its closeness to Mexico, you might guess that its ancient history is similar to that of Mexico's. And it is. The area that Guatemala is in was part of the great Mayan empire of the past. There are pyramids and ancient structures that are Mayan, just like there are in Mexico. In fact, they're common in the area of Guatemala. And one of the neat things about Guatemala is that there are still people living there today that still speak Mayan, that speak Mayan dialects and practice ancient Mayan religions. Guatemala was part of the Spanish Empire. The early inhabitants of Guatemala suffered death by war and disease just like other European colonies did. Guatemala speaks Spanish for the same reasons that other countries do around it. They fought for independence just like other countries did, and they struggled for years to find their own place in the world just like other countries did. Guatemala gained independence from Spain in 1821. After that, they were actually part of the Mexican Empire. When they finally became known as Guatemala, they were ruled by a series of dictators that brought them to a very dark period of history. During this time, Guatemala was involved in a 36-year-long civil war. A civil war that lasted for 36 years. Now remember, a civil war means that it's a war fought not with other countries or not somebody trying to take over your country or your land. It's you and your family. It's brother fighting against brother. It's father fighting against son. Civil wars are an extremely difficult thing for a country to go through. The two sides of the war were not very clear either. There was just a lot of fighting. Most of the time, it was the government fighting against rebel groups that represented minority groups of people. The minorities were people of direct Mayan descent, or the people that originally lived in Guatemala. There are some people that accuse the Guatemalan government of attempting genocide. Genocide means trying to get rid of an entire race of people. Almost 200,000 people died during the Civil War, and most of them were Mayan. The United States supported and even trained Guatemalan armies from the 1950s all the way until the 1990s. However, in 1999, President Bill Clinton stated that the U.S. was wrong to have supported the Guatemalan government once they realized that this support led to the accused attempt at genocide. In other words, once they found out that the Guatemalan government was literally trying to get rid of an entire race of people, they felt pretty bad for supporting that government. You could say that this genocide was stopped by one lady named Rigoberta Menchú. She was a Mayan that was born just before the Civil War started. Her entire childhood, teenage years, and even into her adult years were lived during a bloody war. Her parents were killed, and she dedicated her life to helping the world see what was going on. And she dedicated herself to getting help from other countries to help her people that were being killed by her government. She was successful at this, and because of her efforts, her people were mostly saved. In fact, she was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1992 for what she did and for promoting peace in this world. The Nobel Peace Prize is a very significant, big award that is given out to one person in the entire world once every year. Today, Guatemala is moving toward peace. It still struggles with poverty, drug wars, and corruption, but in general, it is making great advances toward peace and prosperity. They have a constitutional democratic republic, meaning that they elect their leaders, they have drafted a constitution of their own, and they have branches of government similar to that of the United States. There are almost 14 million people that live in Guatemala, and in general, they are people that love their country. They're proud of their heritage. They love to share the beauty of their land with others. Most of the people speak the official language of Spanish, but thousands of them still speak one of the 21 Mayan languages that still exist. Some of the older people in the Mayan communities don't even speak Spanish at all. They only speak Mayan. Most of the people wear clothing that is similar to what you or anyone else in any other part of the world wear. But in many parts of Guatemala, people still wear traditional Mayan clothing. Mayan clothing has beautiful colors with unique designs woven into them. Most of the people are Catholic, with a small minority of the people that still practice Mayan religion. Guatemala is known as the land of the eternal spring. That means that in most areas it's warm, but it rarely gets too hot. It is simply a very pleasant place to be. Now, one thing that's very interesting about Guatemala that is probably a little bit unsettling to a lot of people is that many mountains in the area of Guatemala are volcanoes. The entire landscape around most of the cities is made up of volcanoes. Now, seeing a volcano reach up from almost any direction is very unsettling for most people. Some of the volcanoes are still active, with regular lava flowing from them. But violent eruptions are not very common and, in general, are not a major concern to the people. When traveling to Guatemala, a person still needs to take precautions and take some care to avoid trouble. But once you're there, you will fall in love with this land and this people. It leaves an impression that is not soon forgotten. Guatemala is a beautiful land that is just now starting to rise to its full potential.